Hey, what's up guys, Totallydubbed here, and today I'm doing a video review on the BenQ ZOWIE RL2455. Now this monitor can be found for £156 on Amazon.co.uk for the 24-inch. The 27-inch comes at £225. And on Amazon USA, 24-inch is around $200, 27-inch $280. Now you might notice on the Amazon page, if you were to click through, that you've got a BenQ option. In all honesty, the BenQ was the brand that the BenQ is a brand that bought ZOWIE, and therefore ZOWIE is all the gaming specific things. So that's why you might see it unavailable, and through my research I found that ZOWIE replaced this monitor model name itself. So it is a ZOWIE branded monitor. You can still find the BenQ description under the RL2455HM, and you can find it under RL2455 on ZOWIE's website. Links will be down in the description for all of these that I'm talking about below. Now you might be wondering, what do you get for that money? Well, it's a 24-inch 1080p monitor that runs at 60 Hz. It has a 16:9 aspect ratio, quoted response time of 1 millisecond, and has a TN panel. In terms of inputs, you've got DVI-D, HDMI, two HDMI ports, and a VGA input. You've also got a line in and a headphone out 3.5mm jack. You've also got 2 times 2 watt speakers, which in all honesty are decent given the price of the monitor. In comparison to other monitors out there, I think it actually sounded pretty good, but that said, there are inbuilt monitor speakers, so don't expect the world from them. Now, in terms of the actual build quality of the monitor, I was actually reasonably impressed given the fact of the price range that it comes in. Now, the monitor can only be tilted up and down, but other than that, you can't do anything else to it. Now, the stand is reasonably well made. It does shake every now and then, but make sure you connect it really strongly using the stand that's included, and make sure you click it in well into place in order to prevent it from shaking. The stand is made out of hard plastic and it's got like a red accent to it, which makes it look nice on a desk and brings a little bit of a gaming vibe to it. Now, in terms of the bezels, they're not too big, however, they've got a sort of depth to them. The depth means that the screen feels like it's behind, whereas the bezels are in front, and therefore that sort of dimension makes it seem like the bezels are quite big, but in all honesty, when you look at the actual width of the bezels, you'll see that they're actually reasonably small. So other than that, I didn't have any sort of complaints in terms of build quality. Now moving on to the on-screen display, which I'm just going to reduce the EV of my monitor and zoom in so you guys can see. In terms of the on-screen display, I was actually very much impressed with the amount of options you got, especially at this price range. Now the buttons are operated on the right hand side, none of them are indicated, and the reason behind that is because you can customize what the buttons do, especially these 3 buttons over here. Now going into the menu, you'll be able to see all my settings, and I would recommend these settings, well, just on a subjective level, I would recommend these settings in order to get the best color out of it. Now I've set my brightness to 100 and my contrast to 45. Default is 50 for contrast, and the reason I brought it down is because I felt that the contrast was over bloating certain whites, white on white. It seemed a bit weird, but nevertheless I would reduce that. Sharpness on 5, instant mode on, low blue light 0, gamma 3, color temperature on user, and I've got R as 97, G as 99, and B as 100. Again, these are subjective opinions, but this is what I noticed. And I've got the AMA on high, and I'll explain that in a little bit when I go into launching some Counter-Strike. You can set it to off, high and premium. I wouldn't suggest premium because you get a lot of ghosting on the monitor, even within Windows, which I found absolutely crazy, which I haven't seen for such a long time. In terms of picture advanced, I've got it on standard mode, overscanners off, display mode full, and nothing else of real interest there. And then within the audio, you can change the audio, you can save your settings, and within the system setup, you can customize the keys. All very much comprehensive, and everything you'd expect from on-screen display. I'm really much impressed with what BenQ ZOWIE have included with their, well, I'd say pretty budget monitor. Now let's talk about the panel quality. Now the panel quality is definitely washed out, and when I say washed out, I mean the colors are washed out. Now this is due to the fact that it's using a TN panel, but nevertheless I did notice a washed out color. In fact, when I got it right out of the box, my eyes were bleeding because of the fact of it was on a weird setting. That's why I said make sure you go through the settings, which most people might not do, but definitely go through the settings for the best results for yourself. Everyone's eyes are different. Now in terms of the color reproduction, I felt that it was reasonably accurate. However, one thing I did notice is that in terms of when it comes to black and white, in terms of the contrast ratio, I was left a little bit disappointed, but that said, not that surprised when it came to a TN panel. Over here on the top right and even top left hand side, you should see dark blacks, but unfortunately, at least to my human eyes, I don't see deep blacks. I see a grey-esque shade slash a blue hue coming from the earth over here. The whites as well aren't very white, and even due to the contrast ratio being a little bit odd, I felt that the whites were just a little bit off. But that said, I did try and calibrate to my own user preferences in order to counter that. In terms of the other colours, they do come out. I wouldn't say I would have much of a complaint, especially for example this picture, you've got a lot of vivid colours coming out from left and right, and I wouldn't have too many complaints. Given the price of the monitor, I don't feel I can complain so much, but I have seen many better TN panels out there, even from BenQ themselves, that can be bought for a relatively similar price. If you don't want to invest a little bit more, you could go for an IPS or PLS panel and you'll get much better color accuracy and much better color reproduction. So yes, if you're looking for video or photo editing, this monitor is definitely not for you. Now, what about the gaming performance? Now, this is a 1080p 60Hz monitor, which in all honesty to me doesn't really scream sort of esports. And the reason I say esports, and you might be wondering why would I be mentioning esports on a £155 monitor, is because that's what it is labelled as. It's labelled as an esports monitor all over the place. Be it on the monitor itself, it even says console for monitor for console esports with the model number, or with it on the website itself. So you might be wondering, why would any esport player buy a 60Hz monitor and not 144Hz? Well, first of all, you've got the price, which can be affecting it. But other than that, the reason why I say esports is because esports is massive. It's not just on the PC like on Counter-Strike. You can play, for example, Halo, or you can play some sort of console game. And yes, I know the console peasants out there are going to be flaming out there saying, oh, well, we've got esports as well, blah, 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 blah. It does. It works. There is esports out there outside of PC gaming and the PC Master Race community. So I can see where this monitor is marketed at. However, I do have certain problems with it, and that's because I don't really understand it that well in terms of where the monitor is positioned. Given the fact this is a 60Hz monitor designed for consoles, I would have expected a really good input lag. Unfortunately, as in really good, I mean really low input lag. Unfortunately, the input lag wasn't that great. It is reasonably good in terms of playing casual gaming or even playing at semi-competitive level, but that only happens when you boost down that AMA option that you saw through the OSD before. If you don't do that, then you're going to notice really slow input lag and very slow, generally really slow inputs. And therefore, I wouldn't really suggest it for competitive gaming. Now, when you boost up the AMA to premium, then suddenly you notice a lot of ghosting overshoot, which unfortunately is the problem when it comes to using overdrive or AMA or whatever any manufacturer use or call it. It is noticeable in games, and when you're moving quite fast, you will notice that sort of blur that's going on. Unfortunately, that is the case, and I don't know, I wouldn't really suggest it if you're really playing competitively because it can be distracting. But nevertheless, for a £155 monitor, I can see where people would be buying it, but nevertheless, it's not the best monitor out there, because if you're a console gamer, then I guess input lag isn't going to be really important to you all that much, because you're going to be using console with a controller, and at that rate, I would buy an IPS or PLS panel over a TN panel which doesn't display as good colors. If you're a PC gamer, on the other hand, and you want to game, then I would just invest just a little bit more and buy a 144 Hz monitor that has low input. There's certain monitors that come to mind, and you can ask me down in the description in the comments below in case you're wondering. But nevertheless, it's a little bit of an odd monitor. It's got a little bit of hit and miss here and there. It's a decent monitor at its price, but it's not one that I would actively recommend given the fact it's only a 60 Hz monitor. Alright guys, I've been Totally Dubbed. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Make sure you give it a like, comment and subscribe. Make sure you favorite, share, and definitely let me know in the comments below what you think. Alright guys, I've been Totally Dubbed. Take care and bye bye.